Hello.
Oh.
Welcome to First Memory in Sakaso. We
Yes.
are
Oh,
excited to talk about intuition today.
what's going on here? Huh? Oh, done here. Yeah.
We're playing with technology a little bit. Okay, here we go.
Intuition. So yeah, we're from Sakaso, Paul and Satomi, and from First Memory, Alex and Desiree. And then as Desiree was saying, we're going to talk about intuition. That's a huge topic, right? An exciting topic. So before we jump in, I want you guys from First Memory, you guys starting some new program right away. So if you can give us this brief, just information, give us information, and then we can jump in.
Yeah, you're starting on Wednesday, right? Just
Yeah.
We're starting Wednesday, and we're pretty excited because this is been working on this for quite a while, and so it's called Unmuzzle Your Power Animal, and in a nutshell, it is a system for self-regulation. It's about working with the nervous system. So it's a combination of different disciplines that are brought together in an integrated and strategic way to be meant to be used as a daily practice. So we provide people with a customized plan to incorporate these tools daily, depending on how much time they're willing to devote to them and what their goals are. And it's really about training the mind. It's about training the body, and it's about training our ability to process emotion. It's ultimately about being in our power. It's about being in our bodies. It's about being stronger physically and mentally, and about being more connected. And I think that these are practices that are just fundamental to being human. You know, I like to think of it as it's the wisdom that we're never taught in school about how to work with the mind, how to work with the body. So it's very important, but it's especially important right now with these times and the strong emotional charge that we're all feeling. It's absolutely crucial to be able to have like I said, a daily practice to be able to process this stuff, keep the energy flowing so that we can stay connected, we can stay centered, and in the present. So yeah, we're pretty excited. It's a combination of South American shamanic wisdom, neuroscience, modern trauma theory, and tactical psychology all rolled into one.
Wow, that's beautiful. And to me, I would kind of describe what you're saying as you're strengthening your body, your mind, and your body, and being more connected. I think it's fair to say you're strengthening your spirit, right?
It's 100%. Yeah. So it's a spiritual practice for sure. But it's firmly rooted in physiology, and it's backed up by science. That's the beauty about a lot of new, especially neuroscientific studies that have come out in the last few years that are proving that these practices that I said, like I said, I mean, these are, we are bringing them together and finding ways of teaching these to people in the most simplistic way possible. But I believe they're fundamental to just being able to drive our minds and drive our bodies. And but now we're seeing through clinical trials that why they work the way that they do. And it's really fun because it's like I said, it's not just about a lot of people, because it's a system that is very unique and there's really nothing else like it out there. We've heard some folks refer to it as a fitness and wellness program, and it is just so much more than that. This really is, yes, it's training the body, but it's also training the mind, and it's teaching us how to reprogram subconscious beliefs to be able to uh, to live a more conscious life, to really be able to direct our lives more instead of just reacting to the environment. So,
And it's actually very relevant to intuition, like having clear intuition, because with these tools, we can actually like cleanse the stuff that can get in the way and purify ourselves, and then just get more in tune in general. So I'm excited about today's topic because I know that, we all have intuition, and sometimes we'll get an intuitive hit that just isn't really, it's kind of misguiding because we have other stuff going on. And so I'm excited to talk about all that stuff that gets in the way of having a clean and clear intuition, because we need to be very carefully guided right now, and we can't really be trusting what other people are saying or doing. We need to know from our own gut, our own heart, like what should we be doing. So
I mean, that's so salient, so timely, what you're saying, Desi, that we can't trust what other people are saying right now. And it's not because inherently you can't trust other people. What you're saying is that the information that's out there on the internet, for example, it's highly polarized, and there's what seems to be a tremendous amount of either incorrect information or in some fashion misleading information. I'm not going to use some of the other terms I could possibly use, but I think that's fair to characterize it that way and still be on topic. And what you're saying is that if we're better able to connect with our own intuition, we'll be able to sort between those things that are accurate information, or read between the lines when we're looking at incomplete or not as accurate information, right?
and also like sometimes what's good for you is not good for me. So we also have to differentiate that, like, yeah, maybe this is your way through, and then maybe mine is completely different. So
That's
why we all have to individually guide.
Yeah, and customize the menu for each client, right? And
Yeah.
so this is starting this Wednesday, and if you guys are interested, contact Alex and Desiree at FirstMemory.one, right? FirstMemory.one for more information. There's still some space available, but you want to hurry to join. Okay.
yeah, and it's a unique time to join us because this is the inaugural month. This will be an ongoing thing every month, but the first month you'll have the opportunity to receive a lot more one-on-one guidance and a completely customized plan for this daily practice. And that's something that as time goes on, we probably won't be able to offer. So we'll really need to get a lot of feedback from people and really join us in co-developing this. So we really welcome founding members right now.
Sounds great. Sounds excited. And now, yeah, we are excited for you guys.
Yeah.
And so for more information, contact them, FirstMemory.one. And so let's jump in about intuition. Where we're gonna start with this huge topic? Yeah, we're talking about like this, or you're talking about heart, your gut, and we kind of know, right, what intuition is, and of course everybody has intuition, but how to use it, and how to be clear this is the intuition, and how to improve those things. Like Alex, you were saying, and nobody teaches this in school, right?
Yeah,
so important, but nobody teaches us, right? So we are gonna figure out on our own, right? And if you have friends that they're learning, we can learn together. So today we're gonna share what we have been doing, like how we can tell intuition, this is intuitional, this is just in my head, and I'm just making it up, right? It's all different, but how can you tell? And then if we want to improve, how we can improve those things.
Mhm.
Probably we can
Should
talk
we
about.
start by defining what intuition is?
Ah,
What
Yeah.
what do you think it is, Satomi?
for me, like I said, everybody have intuition, and I do since I was kid, without knowing, I was pretty much following my intuition a lot. Of course, I think, right? I think in my head and be logical, but to me, like when the logic mind and my body is not aligned, I do feel some weird gap. Like, okay, something is going on here, right? And then I'll step back, and the logic is saying this, my heart and my gut is saying this, right? And then I kind of examine, right? And then just by stepping back and checking all my thoughts and feeling, heart and gut, and then okay, this is not aligned. Which part is off, right? So, and then I don't know. I'm not I haven't put this one into words, so I'm not maybe explaining clearly. But me, first thing how to separate them is stepping back and self check, more like a ego check. Is this my ego? This is just selfishly I want something, so I'm going for it, or I'm looking at the whole picture and put the selfishness aside, and this is coming from the love for myself, love for others. That's overall what I do in general, right? If you guys can help me clarify what I'm saying, so audience can understand what I'm trying to say. You guys know me, so help me.
Yeah.
No, I think you're doing a great job. It makes
understand
complete
what-
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, intuition's not an easy thing to define
Yeah.
in the first place. So how would you guys define it? Alex, you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the nervous system is just this incredibly attuned apparatus for picking up information from the environment. And we tend to kind of limit our experience of the world by putting a lot of focus on the intellect. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, thought really does create reality. It's the most important aspect that we have for working with reality. But at the same time, when we're using analytical thought, we're very constrained in a very linear way of processing this information. So we perceive things in a linear time frame, past, present, and future, and therefore it becomes very limiting. But when we can expand our awareness and utilize more of our nervous system, and in particular all the nerve endings and the wisdom that we have in the gut, we start to break away from that temporal space and pick up so much more information. We can really tap into the energetic currents of the universe and start to even pick up on things that we would normally consider paranormal, right? And some people think that it's paranormal for some folks like Satomi to have the ability to let's just say communicate with dead loved ones and things like that. And the truth is that we all have that ability. It's innate to our human nervous system. It's just that some of us tend to close off that aspect of our being, and some folks like Satomi are just born with a naturally more open system. But the good news is that we can all work on it, and there are many different practices and techniques and things that we can incorporate over time just to learn how to flower open that portion of our being to be able to perceive all of this information, like I said, that we normally filter off. That's kind of what I would say.
And essentially, like, the space between us is exactly the same thing as what we're made of. So the illusion that we're separate, it's an illusion. And so we all have access to all of the information. And it's a matter of, tapping in and cleansing ourselves and our emotions and our trauma. And we're about to go into the details of all the things that actually get in the way of us just being able to tap in very clearly. So it's really neat stuff.
Yeah, this is very true. Because of the principle of energetic entanglement, we really do have access to this collective field. So, one of the things that Satomi is very good at, for instance, is being able to expand her energetic bubble to really embrace another person's energetic bubble and be able to pick up on information that they themselves don't have access to, right? So it becomes a really powerful ability. And like I said, to the normal, average person, it seems like it's science fiction, but it's just the way reality works.
It's no magic. Everybody can do it, right? Everybody's energy. It's just like in the air, we're all connected, right? You can't see with your eyes, but we're all connected. And just if you consciously understand that you are energy and the other people energy, and we are all connected, and because we are so much connected, like everybody experience, like somebody's sitting beside you, you don't know that person, and then they're sitting there quietly, but sometimes you can tell that person is so sad or so angry without having conversation, because we are connected, we're picking up each other's energy, right? So everybody can do it, but school and the society teaches us to think, and use the information that you can see, right? And then you have in a textbook, and so all those things are limiting us, and makes us forget to feel like in a different level, right? So we forget, and the thing we can do is to remember how you do it, like your program, like unmuzzle your power animal, like you are power animal, but you got muzzled up from the society, right? You just have to unmuzzle it, right? That's the
Exactly.
right, yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so we want to unmuzzle and just let out all our ability, right?
Mhm.
But how is, I know it's the tricky question, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, you guys are touching on amazing aspects of this whole thing, and I'll see if I can bring in some other elements that might support what you're saying. Number one is like some people may be watching that are kind of wondering, like, I don't know about the intuition. It's too fuzzy. I can't get a hold of it. I don't have some independent verification, scientific, that kind of thing. There's a couple of things I would touch on. One is that every single person out there knows when they're being stared at. You just know, right? How do you know? Somebody's looking at you from behind, right? You had no independently, independent data or like a visual reference of that person in any way. They're somehow just snuck up or whatever, just unbeknownst to you, that they're there and they're staring at you, especially if they have some kind of intention behind that, right? And you get either you just feel drawn to it, or you get creeped out, right? And you just know, or you just know there's some kind of threat. It's an instinctive thing, and so many people talk about their gut instincts and all that kind of stuff. That's another aspect that's a little fuzzier, but you absolutely can verify this for yourself, that you have that ability just on that basis alone. Everybody has that experience. And there's been actually a tremendous amount of scientific research that has been done by some people. I'll just mention Rupert Sheldrake, for example. He has research into the sense of being stared at, right? You can go check that up online. It's amazing, actually, that you don't hear about this more. And that's one side of it. Another side of it is I'm coming from, in my life, I have, like everybody, I have some kind of intuitive ability, right? I was born with that, but I didn't emphasize that all through my life. At a certain point, I just sort of kind of, that's fine, but I'll focus on what I can verify and what I know I can work with as a skill, and I'll do all kinds of rational thinking. I did software development and scientific research, all this kind of stuff. And I can get practical things done that I can verify and I can show to somebody, this is what I made, right? It's different, right? And so I emphasize that. I didn't emphasize the intuitive side, but I can absolutely tell you that if you do pay attention to it again, no matter where you are in your life, you can develop it, right? You can develop it further where you are at this current time. And most people out there, they have probably more ability. I would say probably everybody has more ability than they think. And another little piece I want to touch on is, it was really fascinating, is this that what you touched on about the space in between us, and that's carrying the information, right? That is out there, not inside us, right? It's actually been established now with certain kinds of research that our capacity for knowledge, to think and that kind of thing, is not inside our heads. It's not in those brain cells. It's not there. There's actually people who are born without brain matter other than this tiny little bit around the inside of their skull, and yet they're highly functional. They can do a lot of stuff. It's just one example of how, and also people who had like tremendous trauma, they've lost the function in massive large parts of their brain, but they still function, or they can relearn it, right? There's ways you can get into this that show the old model of looking at things does not hold up in terms of, this is how things are. We are a mechanical creature that is residing inside this body. It's all neural cells and random interactions between molecules and all this kind of stuff. The way people have this idea about science that's the ultimate explanation for things, that there is nothing out there beyond this physical stuff. And science actually shows the opposite. It's just that it's not very well publicized. More recent science in particular. So it's very interesting, and it's actually been quite well established, that there's something way beyond what we think of as ordinary life. It's not like that. That just doesn't explain who and what we are. The materialistic mechanical explanation of the universe does not hold water. It's been scientifically proven to not hold water. So, so that's something that's really worth considering. And I love what you guys are touching on with all that.
Yeah, you're right, Paul. That's one of the most limiting belief systems I think that we have all grown up with, is this sense that consciousness is just all this electrical activity that happens inside the cranium, right? It's false. And even though science to this day can't truly understand, wrap its mind around, really define what consciousness is, or that we even have consciousness at all. What we do know is that it's absolutely not limited to the brain.
Right.
And, now we have, again, even though we can't really prove it with scientific methods as to what is going on, we do know that something is going on, because we have volumes and volumes and volumes of cases, especially in the fields of astral projection and near-death experiences, where consciousness can dislocate, like essentially leave the body and go and spend some time elsewhere, then come back, and the information that consciousness was exposed to while they were not embodied is verifiable.
Exactly.
It's really stuff that's kind of hard to argue. And also telepathy and the ability to have remote viewing. And again, you know, we can refer to these things as paranormal experiences or abilities, but I think that it's just our scientific knowledge just hasn't caught up yet, but it's a fundamental aspect of being human.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
totally agree with that. I would totally agree that science doesn't know how to explain yet, but science has absolutely, verifiably, and many times independently, repeatedly demonstrated in the lab that intuition does exist and that our consciousness does not reside inside of our skulls.
Yeah.
It's been proven. So
And yet we continue to hear that all the time. Like this, you know, the average
Isn't it?
person, that's what they believe. And
yeah.
science keeps perpetuating this this false, you know.
Yeah, it's a strange, I don't know what label to put on it, but it's not just science, right? Because that's not a monolithic thing, because there is some enlightened science that has been done. It's just not publicized, and it's not communicated down into elementary school and through the whole of society, that there's these massive revelations that have occurred, especially in recent decades. And so it doesn't become part of the common dialogue that people have, or impression.
More of like a worldview thing than a
Yeah,
science thing.
worldview. That's exactly the word.
Because when we have these experiences, then it clicks and we're like, whoa, I get it now.
Yeah.
But without the experience, then we're like, you know, that's not possible.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
So how you guys tell like a intuition? Okay, this is the intuition, so I want to follow my intuition, right? Or this is just me making it up. How do you differentiate? How can you tell?
Well, maybe first we talk about the stuff that gets in the way of it, or do you want to talk about intuition first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the topic that you're touching on, Satomi, is a complicated one, and it's one of the most difficult things for me personally that I've had to wrestle with over a period of many, many years, because Desiree and I have studied under some very, very powerful intuitives. Two of the two main teachers that we studied with before we got into the shamanic studies were really focused on practices to help us awaken our intuitive or third eye vision. And I always wrestled with that, is that we don't know how to trust ourselves, right? Because I would have messages come up, or I would tap into certain things, but I always told myself, that's just my imagination. I'm just making this shit up. And so having the ability to, first of all, understand that making shit up is actually working with energy. Thought is actually creating energy, and it's directing energy. So we can't like poo-poo that, first and foremost. But two, being able to really pry apart the two, I think it just takes a lot of practice. And to Desiree's point, I think it takes a lot of work in being able to carve away all the things that get in the way to really access that intuitive flow and being able to trust it. And I think that it's extremely important, guys, like now more than ever, going back to what we were talking about, you know, what we're experiencing in reality right now has never happened before. This is something absolutely unique. For instance, the mainstream news has always been used to promote certain political, beliefs or agendas, and that's nothing new. But the way in which information is being redirected and manipulated these days, it really is creating this kind of like a labyrinth of mirrors, right? That really confuses the heck out of us, where we don't really know what's going on. And even, we have lost the ability to have scientific debate. And you see people that are using the exact same data sets, but spinning them off in their own way to support their own belief systems or agenda. It gets really confusing. So now more than ever, it is truly important to really be able to tap into our intuitive wisdom. And the other thing is that having that ability is really a matter of survival. It's not just a matter of, well, I'm interested in getting better at it because I want to become a tarot card reader. I want to go into like the new age fields or anything like that. I'm talking like everyday survival. Going back to, I have some background in the tactical fields, and I've done a lot of training and have a lot of experience in self-defense situations, and being able to trust our gut feeling can literally save our lives. There's just so much data now of cases of people that have survived, instances of violent attacks, and almost every single one of them had a gut feeling that something was off before the incident. But yet most of us don't listen to it. We ignore it, and we're so like conditioned to act a certain way, or we don't want to
Rustle any feathers.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to like
be rude
or anything like that. And we just like go with a certain situation and then regret it afterwards. Right. So really being able to have the ability to feel into that, because ultimately what I think a lot of this has to do with is pattern recognition. Our intellectual minds may not have the capacity to understand very, very complex or very large patterns, but our body does. Our body does. And so whenever we are in situations where we may, again, it's beyond or not beyond, but it's underneath what the conscious mind is perceiving, but we just get a sense that something is off. There's a pattern interrupt. There is something about a person or a behavior or something in that environment that shouldn't be there. And our bodies pick up on that. So having the ability to listen to that is just absolutely, absolutely important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important. But again, we are not taught to listen to that, right? So look at this number, listen to these people, right? And then follow the instruction. And those things is more important. We are pushed to do that way. So we learn to ignore. We are, in a way, forced to ignore, right? Because if you're doing something different in a class, and then, no, you're not doing well, kind of thing, right? It's just, yeah. So, but it's perfect time. We know something is not working perfectly. Time to connect to yourself, intuition, right? Like one example, I can say my gut was telling me was long time ago. My ex-partner, he wants to start a business. He had a job, a nice job, but he wanted to start his own business, and that's great. But he picked one. I'm not gonna be clear about this, but he wanted to do this business, right? And then I said no. No, I don't want that one, right? And you can do this or this, and this I have a good feeling, but not this one that you're talking about, right? And but he was insisting, I know how to do it, I want to do it, like, and this massive feeling, and my body is screaming, no, right? And I cannot logically explain why, because he hasn't done it, right? I haven't done it. And how can you say no to the future, right? And do I have numbers to prove that it's not going to work? No, I didn't, right? But I was saying, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. You can do this or maybe this, right? And I was giving him different ideas, but he was just, no, I really want to do this. I want to try it. I don't want to stay in that company for the rest of my life. I want to try something different. And I like the idea. He wanted to try something different and he wants to start his own business. And so one side is like, I want to support him, right? Because that's great. But the other side is screaming, no, but I really didn't have anything to support my feeling. And back then, like he didn't know I was like this psychic or anything. And I wasn't telling anybody.
You didn't know.
I like, yeah, I was following myself when I hear this inside voice, right? I've been doing that, but not for other people. So I wasn't using it, but this time was like crazy and oh my God. And for a long time we discussed and argued and then finally I gave up. Okay, we haven't done it and then there's logical way thinking, right? Logically I'm being nonsense, right? Because he said he wants to try and then I should say yes. And then I kept saying no. And he wasn't backing up. He was just pushing. Okay, so I finally, if something happened, and that's a lesson for us too, right? Okay, and there's no other way. We are pushing to take this path. I'm saying this much. I keep saying no, but no, it's not going. So I guess I'm taking this path too, right? So I took it, and then once I decide to do it, I'm putting 100% effort to be successful. Get this support and help him, and then a few years later, didn't work out, and it went down so bad, and he was suffering so bad, and okay, this is what I was feeling, right? And that was a big lesson and just a reminder for myself when I'm feeling that I really want to follow, right? And I've been doing that. So that was probably one big time that I really didn't follow my intuition, and I was shown that this what happens. This is what happens if you don't follow, right? And then thank you for the lesson. I'm listening and using my intuition, but yeah, it's sometimes it gets so loud. Sometimes it's very quiet, but sometimes it gets loud. And you guys, everybody can actually look for validation, right? When you feel this gut feeling or your heart is telling you, right, not just the logical thinking, and then you do this or this, you're following the intuition or you're not following the intuition, and see what happens, right? That's what I do a lot of times, and look for validation. And then like Alex, you're saying trust, right? If you have no validation, how can we trust? It's like it's not in the textbook, right? And then nobody telling you, yes, that's right, right? So you just have to find yourself and okay, I did this when I felt this way, and it turned out this way. Okay, so that was my intuition telling me, and I did that, and then things went this way, right? Sometimes you don't follow the intuition, you feel something, but you went opposite way and check what happens, right? So that's what I do all the time, and then you can build the confidence and trust yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said, I think, for the feelings you get from the different voices, because there are different voices inside you, right? There's a voice that it's based on desires. So I want this, I want that, and it's kind of related. You want to be right, right? There's a voice that says, it's always saying, I want to be right. I want to win this argument. I want to come out victorious and be the hero. And there's a desire to be right, right?
Mhm.
So that voice is your ego,
Mhm.
right?
And it's here too, right?
There's a feeling that comes with that voice,
Mhm.
right? It's like, I'm going to win. I'm going to be, I'm going to show them, or all that kind of stuff. I can be important. I can,
Yeah,
I can
like-
be somebody. I can get what I want, right?
Yeah,
All those
and,
things.
and then fear, I was saying, like, I don't want to do this
Yeah.
because something might happen bad, right?
Mhm.
It's according to just past experience, right? Next time might be different, but that's subconscious pattern, and we see the pattern. Okay, it's been like this. If I do this, this is gonna happen, and then no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do it. It
Mhm.
can be fear instead of intuition, right?
So
Yeah.
what's really cool is that in the Peruvian traditions, they actually like break down basically how to have a clear intuition based on like 3 different bodies that we align. And I think you know this better than I do, but there's like 3 different bodies, like the physical body, the heart, and the mind, that when we align these,
Mhm.
that we can.
Yeah, I mean, more than bodies, I would call them like intelligence centers,
Ah.
right? And being able to really make sure that that those are in alignment. And so this is pretty important too, because I think that a lot of times we hear a lot about gut feelings, and we put a lot of emphasis over that, and we de-emphasize the ability to perceive, energies from the third eye, and the higher vibrations, and also the intellect, which kind of mix up in this center, and also incorporate our intention, which is the heart. So the 3 centers are Yang Kai, which is in our core, and it's really like our gut intelligence. And the heart is called Munai, which is compassion, love, heart energy. And in the head, it's called Yai Chai. And again, it relates to that, like intuitive wisdom mixed in with the higher vibrations that come in through this area of the body. And I think that when those centers can be in alignment, that's when we can have the most clear form of intuitive guidance. And this is important. This is important to talk about, because I was telling Desiree a few days ago that, like, for instance, I've noticed that in the conscious or spiritual community, there tends to be this belief that it's almost like a reaction against using our intellect for making decisions, right? And I think this goes hand in hand with the reaction against masculinity or masculine energy. And you hear people all the time like, stay out of your head, stay out of your head, just listen to your gut, What does your gut tell you? Well, again, I don't think it's an either or. I think that to really like come into alignment and go into a state of coherence so that we can receive and listen to our gut, but also process that through the intent, whatever is the intent that's in our heart, and align that with what our higher centers are also telling us. It's crucial. So it's that integration of the entire energetic system that I think is the key to have the most clear signal, so to speak. And that segues into why wouldn't they be aligned? What are the things that get in the way for these centers to go out of alignment, right?
Well,
And
definitely heavy emotions, because when you're really angry and you're in the middle of it, you're assuming the worst of somebody. But if you go and you process your emotion, then you can come up with maybe a little bit more clear vision of what really happened, and then a better way to proceed. So yeah, emotions, trauma, past experiences.
yeah, I would say that there's almost like there's a modulation of energy that happens within our energetic body that is very much related to emotion, and especially to stress, where the higher the emotional charge or the higher the stress, the stress response in the body, the point of focus or awareness that we have on our energy body starts to go higher and higher and higher, and eventually pops out of the body. So it's believed that the soul leaves through the crown when we die. And I think that is the normal mechanism for the soul to travel even while we're alive, but when we're under a lot of stress, or like, again, very, very like highly charged emotional situations. The more scared we are, the higher we lose touch with our gut, and we start to go up in the head, and we start to process everything through the intellect. And like I said, if things get heavy enough, we pop out of the body, we go into that free state, into the trauma realm, really. And unfortunately, for some folks, it becomes very difficult to reintegrate back into the body.
Yeah, that's really dissociation, right?
It's a very strong dissociation. Yes. We had a very close friend of ours that unfortunately, sustained very heavy trauma from an early age. And his point of view, his consciousness, and you could see that in his energy body, was really from above the head looking down. So he just kind of walked around from that perspective. And it was very difficult to get him to come back into the body. And that's a dangerous place to be in, because again, you start to lose touch with all of this rich environment of nerve endings that we have in our gut that is so important to really pick up information from the environment. So again, you're absolutely right in terms of what gets these centers out of alignment, what gets us to lose touch with our gut feeling. Emotionally charged situations and trauma are probably the primary ones, and just really a habitual practice of processing life through the mind alone. And I think that as men, we are very culpable for this. We grow up really trying to just we focus a lot on the mind and our analytical abilities, and when we get used to doing this, we get very disconnected with our body. This is just Alex speaking, but I think that this is why women tend to have a more naturally awakened form of intuition. They tend to be more in their bodies, and in that, especially in that creative part of the body, in the uterus, and more connected to the earth than men. I think we need to put a little bit more effort into that. But
we can be some men can be very talented that way, but Yeah, it is a tendency for sure, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Or,
making the big generalizations here, right? But yeah, I think that so going into practices to help us process our trauma and process these heavy emotions and being able to make our energetic body feel safe coming down into the body and really like creating this receptacle for it, especially like I said, in the core of our body is so important to really sink down into it. And in order to do that, I think that this is where state changing practices come in. And I think that, you know, we all have our own rituals that we rely on to be able to make those shifts, but it's very important. We can't go from, you know, being in a board meeting and having a very intellectual, you know, strategic discussion about the future of a company and into a deeply, you know, medium state, so to speak, where you can really like channel spiritual realities without going through some kind of state shift. And there's a lot of tools that we have available to that. But
Yeah, so it would be literally the less centered you are, the less intuitively capable you would be, basically.
absolutely.
So,
Exactly.
and that centeredness is another way of saying having those three intelligences aligned, those, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we have that too, we're tapping into this like this rod of energy that connects the astral bodies coming down through our spine and our nervous system and connects us to the earth. And this is super important because thus far we've only been talking about the gut, right? Like that's where the train tracks end. We just need to come down to the gut. And that's not true. Like this is the true most deep intuition happens when we tap into the wisdom of the earth. So dropping beyond the gut, through our feet, through the base of our spine, and into the collective noosphere of the earth is that is the deepest state of wisdom that I think we can achieve.
Yeah, I think that what like the fast track to intuitive capabilities, I think is really anything you can do to be physical and meditation in addition. So like a balance of behaviors. So you want to move your body, you want to like push your body to extremes. You want to stop the clutter, like stop taking in too much information, focus on your breathing. There's just like a million ways, you know, just doing your yoga practice. You'll notice that you'll be intuitive when you take a shower or when you take a drive. And that's because of these like different brain waves that they put you in. But
yeah, and brainwaves are a really good thing to talk about because again, I think this is where the state changing practices fall into, and we have to kind of get even just a basic grasp on what's happening at a brainwave level to be able to manipulate that. But I believe that yes, ultimately, if we want to really open up our capacity to tap into intuitive wisdom, we need to either drop our frequency into the lower ones like alpha or theta. So we need to like, you know, try to, whether it's meditation or breath work or whatever it is we need to do to quiet the mind and sink deeper into the body and go into that like stillness realm.
or binaural beats.
Well,
With
binaural beats are a very, very effective tool for doing that. So we can either drop down into the alpha theta state, or we can rev it up and see if we can reach up into the gamma. And gamma is a very elusive state because that's really what is considered the flow state. And I think that when you're talking about being physical, I think that's essentially what you're saying, is being able to perform an activity, whether it's playing a sport at a very high level or, you know, running or doing something that is so challenging to your nervous system that forces you to be in the moment and access that flow state, right? Or doing some kind of artistic activity, like for instance, playing the piano, right? A person that is proficient in playing the piano is not consciously thinking about each note that they're playing. It would be impossible to do that. They need to actually quiet the mind and go into that flow state and allow that energy to kind of, you know, drive their body and their muscle memory. So yeah, state changing, either bring it down or try to access that gamma. But it really does require to stay out of the beta, and especially the high beta state, which is where we tend to hang out most of the time, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Wow.
I agree. I just want to touch on two other things. I think we're getting low on time, but like present moment awareness, right? You mentioned that briefly. That's definitely something that will help with your intuition, quieting your mind, meditation, or just daily practice, and discipline. It's not, you don't tend to hear that one as much, but what I'm talking about is non-attachment. So if you're attached to a certain outcome, that you want things to go a certain way, that's going to interfere with your ability to receive information that may indicate that going a different way is healthier, is better for you, right? So cultivating that state of non-attachment is very important for that kind of thing as well. We're actually at the hour. Do you want to keep going or go to a second episode on this? Because there was an exercise I think that you were going to share, and I know there's lots of things we could talk about. There's other techniques. I know that Satomi's been cultivated, and she's talked about extensively online as well. There are methods to improve your practices that improve your intuition, right? So there's plenty we could talk about further.
Yeah, you can pack everything in 1 hour.
Yeah, maybe it might make sense to pick up next week and try to make it a little bit more experiential, because I mean, there's a lot of these state change tools that we can share with people that are very important, very powerful.
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
So just trying to summarize this, just that more, we talk more like awareness, right? Where thoughts or feelings coming from, is like coming from here or here or here. And then if you this needs practice to sense where it's coming from too, right? If you are detached to the feeling, you don't, I'm all balanced, now what's wrong with me, kind of thing could happen, right? So the important thing, I would say, I don't know, that's practical it is, but step back, like that's, like I said that earlier, but stepping back, it always helps me, like when you are going and just focused on one task and another, that we are so busy every day, right?
Keeping our mind busy.
Yeah,
right?
and then like Alex, you were saying, guys
Our life
are more go into that way, because guys, they feel like they have to provide, food, bring money into the family, right? So they want to focus on work and next one to bring money, right? So if you're doing that, you are in your head, and then you forget to come down deep and connected to the earth, and then you're just thinking about one task that right in front of you. But if you come down and step back, there is a more big picture. You might not have to do this, and there's a different way, right? More balanced, peaceful way, but you don't even giving yourself time to look around, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And this is actually critical. I would like to maybe explore this more in the next episode, is that what you touched on right there. Men in particular have that drive to achieve and to be practical and get things done, bring money in, survive in the world, that kind of thing. And so we tend to get into our heads and tend to problem solve, what's next, be busy with all that stuff. And the irony is, it's really strange. I've done that for so much of my life, and I thought that was the way to get forward, to move forward, right? But the irony is, the more I've gotten more connected and more balanced and more intuitive, the more effective I am at getting things done. So being practical about getting things done and bringing, income in or whatever, the more intuitive I am, that I'm actually more balanced, I would say, not just one or the others, because it's not just one or the other. Having that balance is much more effective because like you said, I'm open to other ways of doing things other than the one I'm really zeroed in on right now, right? Getting too obsessive about, I've got to solve this problem, this is the way to do it. But if you're intuitive, you're always open to other options. You look around more, you're more aware. And it's like, oh my God, I was wasting my time with all that other junk that I was so worried about and so zeroed in on getting that done, right?
And the answer was always like waiting to get you. Like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the thing is about all this stuff, the reason why we're doing these episodes, early in our series here, is that this is no longer, we cannot say at this point in our history as humans on this earth, that this is some kind of interesting or entertaining, or, that's kind of nice, the intuition kind of thing. We can't do that anymore. We're at the point right now where literally you can't go online and try to get information in this logical internet that's all so logical and try to get answers that will help us through to achieve solutions that we can rely on. Because I could do science that shows this, or I could do the very similar science that shows something completely the opposite to be true, right? And I could write these papers and put them out there and publish them, get them published, and then people could cite them. They could say, oh no, Paul said it was like this. Oh no, Paul said it was like that. Which Paul, right? So you have to be able to use your intuition in order to sort between what seem to be viable answers. What's the actual one that we need, that it's practical, that we can use today to solve the problems that we're faced with as a society, right? We can't just focus on the logic anymore. There's too many contradictory things saying all the stuff out there, and everybody's fighting back and forth about that stuff, saying it's like this, no, it's like that. Well, if we step back and just feel it and release our attachments and our need to be right, and we step back a little bit and just center ourselves, we'll be able to find those answers way better, and come to real solutions that are human solutions that we can live with as a human community, as stewards of this earth, right? We need, this is part of growing up as a species at this point. This is no longer a parlor trick to do things that are intuitive. This is no longer a man thing or a woman thing. This is no longer anything like this. Is a survival requirement at this point.
I agree, Paul. And everything that you mentioned is, exacerbated by the collective trauma that we've been under for the past couple of years. And you have this sustained state of very high elevated stress levels, and you get, like I was saying, you start to leave the body. You start to kind of want to grasp onto things and make sense of things kind of desperately with the mind, and you go into the state of, like you said earlier too, wanting to be right. And it becomes about, butting heads with other people and trying to prove your point. And we start to get less and less connected with the earth and with our bodies. And we've got to do that.
Especially
and
if we haven't processed the emotion. So, so I can't tell you how many times I've gone into the gym feeling like crap and being emotional or angry or tired. And then I go in there and I do my sets and I make, with an intentional lifting and I move all this energy, and by the time I leave the gym, I'm a completely different person. I'm extremely aligned and in my power and motivated and focused, and it's like night and day,
And
just moving that out.
And also you probably walk out of there sometimes with a different perspective on
Oh, sure.
whatever the problem was in your head going in there, you walk out
completely
and
different.
now you like,
It wasn't even a problem. It's like I'm mad at somebody else because they did things wrong. And then when I'm leaving, I'm like, oh, I can understand why they were thinking that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You got that's exactly it, you guys. And it's
Mhm.
so important these days. It's critical for us as humans to live together and to move forward into the future, a new future. That it's not. We got to adjust how we're doing things, and connecting with our intuition is a
Mhm.
critical part
Yeah.
of that.
Mhm.
So we'll have to do another episode on intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a lot to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next
It's
week.
it's a big subject, hey?
We're new. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do at least one more week on this one and
Mhm.
see if we can finish. But we can keep going if we come up with lots of different angle to for us to develop the intuition, right?
Mhm.
I want to keep developing too.
Mhm.
So yeah. Okay, so let's wrap it up. But thank you for watching. And then for First Memory, Alex and Desiree's program, Muscle Your Power Animal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's starting this Wednesday. Contact them, FirstMemory.one, and just sign up. This it sounds like it's packed full of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And amazing. And yeah, for details, contact them. And we're so excited about this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. And yeah, everybody have a great week.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, bye.